Hello, hello, hello. Let me check in with the first three stories in The Awkward Black Man by Walter Mosley. The one of these beasts of a short story collection. I've read a lot of this is a 2020 collection of short stories by Walter Mosley. I've read a lot of Walter Mosley, his Easy Rawlins series, Socrates Jones, just a lot of kind of standalone stuff. Some of his kind of weird science fiction things. Black American author. Um, yeah, yeah. You know, these stories are kind of horny. Um, I don't know if it's that kind of whole thing from his Easy Rollins thing. In the first story, the good news is a guy who's like self-conscious about his weight starts losing weight, and it turns out it's because he has some kind of a cancer thing, and gets thinner and thinner. Ends up um, he's left his wife. He's with another woman, but he's kind of lost interest in her. Has an affair with another woman. Um, Ends up getting so much cancer that he's ends up having to get a nurse, an Irish woman who takes care of him and bathes him and stuff like that. And He actually gets better. But the Irish woman disappears, and it turns out that all his coin collection is gone. And yeah, she's probably taken off with it. He calls her, um, and he's like, "How did you get my number?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And he asks her to marry him because like, oh, now I know what you're like. I know who you are, which is like pretty kind of a cynical story. It's like, oh, you robbed me, so our story, it would be a good marriage. But she never calls him back. So that's the good news is. I guess it's a good news story in that she didn't call him back. Got off lucky, dumbass, cynical dumbass. Um, there's the pet fly story where it's a male clerk who starts sexually harassing a woman at work. Well, he doesn't see it that way, and I'm wondering if the author sees it that way or not. It's like he keeps on giving her gifts, and after she was like not interested in the first gift, he should have fucked off. He should have fucked off, but he didn't. Um, and He ends up getting a promotion out of the whole thing. The guy says, "Oh, well, you should have gotten challenged, and here we're going to give you a promotion, and into this new job." And he kind of misspeaks and calls him a boy, and then he's got a pet fly at home, and the pet fly has died, and he's like, "Oh, did I kill it?" It's like, no, no, it died of old age, as a pet. And it's like, oh, is he going to become, is he the pet in this story going to be the pet of the guy at the head of the thing? And then there's the whole sexual harassment thing, which never comes to anything, except he really notices the woman and the other woman, because there's twins, breasts a lot, which, hey, I notice women's breasts, but it's got that kind of note in the story. So, um, and then there is Almost Alice, where this guy, oh, what the hell happens? I can't remember. He ends up as a home. He was a college graduate. He ends up um, working with a white woman who he thinks is a kind of reincarnated version of a woman he knew earlier, Almost Alice. Um, and Basically he's a black man shopping, which attracts all the security guards, and so she can kind of rob all the uh, rob all the stores that he's just looking at, which he's like fine, but he's also begging on the side. She's like, "Why are you begging? You don't need to beg." It's like, "Oh, no, it's something. I'm saving people's souls." And at the end of the story, some associates of Almost Alice beat the shit out of him. He ends up in the hospital. His sister comes to pick him up and says like, "Well, you can live with me." It's like, "Oh, I want to go back to school. I want to learn history." It's like, "Well, you can come back with me." It's like, it's like, "Oh, I'm not going to be a charity case. I have $89,000 or something like that." It's like, "How'd you get that money?" It's like, from saving people's souls. And there's a whole thing of like he doesn't want to sleep with Alice. He almost Alice. He just wants to be able to call her Alice. But it's like you can't you don't try and come into me because I'll shoot you. So it's just that weird kind of like, okay, no sex thing in this one, which is odd. Was that also the one where he was looking at his penis and going, well, I don't have a big, really large penis? Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Walter Mosley really can just kind of start weaving a story where, like some short stories, it's like, you can't really get a sense of the character in them. I mean, the characters, the guys seem kind of alike. That's the one thing. It's like, it's the one good thing with like Socrates Jones is it's like, well, they all seem alike because it's all the same character, but in different settings. Whereas this, it's supposedly different characters, but it's sort of the same kind of Walter Mosley persona in these stories. He's a kind of loner dudes who have kind of Spartan life and get with the ladies in the stories. Very much kind of Easy Rawlins, kind of the detective the detective thing, which is why it's worked so well in the detective realm. But it is maybe slightly a limitation there. We'll have to see how it goes after 13 or 15 stories that are in this collection. But yeah, that's where I am so far. More videos later.